Hey guys, what's up? Esti-Fit chick here. So, wanted to tell you about my online dating experience. So, several years ago, I had gone through a divorce. I was new to the Arizona area and I didn't really know too many people. I didn't know how to meet people because I'm not someone who would go out and drink a lot, and I didn't really want to meet guys out at a bar because typically if you meet someone who's out into that party scene, like that's what they like to do and that's not what I like to do. So I just didn't feel like I was going to meet someone very compatible based on my past experiences with that. So I didn't really know what to do, and I had a friend who had been doing some online dating, and she seemed like she was doing pretty good with it. She had met a few people, so I was like, hey, why don't I give it a try? So she had recommended a couple of sites, OkCupid and Plenty of Fish. So I was on both of those sites. I didn't really have a lot of luck with OkCupid. So if any of you have tried online dating, you know that like as soon as you create your profile, like you get a ton of emails. Like there's tons of messages coming in, and that can be a little bit overwhelming, and there are a lot of creepy people out there. Creepers! Yeah. So be careful. And you have to set the expectation that some weirdos are gonna send you some messages, okay? And there's a lot of people out there who use those sites for like, you know, the mattress mambo and that sort of thing. Not my intention at all. That's not what I was there for. So I made it very clear in my profile, and even with making it perfectly clear, you still get some weirdos. So you just have to know that that's part of it. So if you can't take that, then don't do it. All right, so there were some nice people that I met. There were some crazy people that I met. So yeah, it was quite the experience. I would say if you're going to go onto online dating, not everyone is going to read your profile, but make sure that it is clear up front what you're there for. I think that setting those boundaries did help a little bit in putting it out there that I was there to actually try and find someone to have a relationship with. It wasn't just like one night stands and that sort of thing, because that is not my sort of thing. Some people are there for that. All right. So also, if you're going to put a lot of like almost nude photos on there, you're going to attract a certain type of person. So if you're looking for something more serious, I recommend keeping it a little more classy and leaving a little more to the imagination. Just saying. And then also just based on other people's profiles, like pay attention to what they're saying. And there are a ton of people out there who are going to lie. So expect that as well. I can't tell you how many guys that I met who had either had like pictures that were definitely photoshopped. Some people, I think they were just even pictures of other people, and lots of guys lied about their height. I actually had one guy that I talked to, and as I was getting ready to leave, like I had my outfit all picked out already I head out the door, and then he was like, wait, are you wearing heels? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, please don't wear heels. So I had to then change my whole outfit because he didn't want me to wear heels. And then when I got there, he was still shorter than me, which he had said that he was 3 inches taller than me. So I don't do very well when people lie to me. That's really not a good start. So don't lie on your profile either. I actually talked to a guy who told me that he had talked to a girl, and she had said like she didn't want kids, and when he showed up for their date, she was like 9 months pregnant. She just failed to mention that. So that's gonna be a deal breaker, and I think that's gonna violate some trust right off the bat. So just be honest, people, because they're gonna find out eventually. I mean, especially if you're pregnant or you're not as tall as you say you are. I mean, the truth's gonna come out sometimes, so might as well be upfront about it. So I had one experience. I went and I met this guy, and I had been on the site for about, I'd probably say like a year, maybe a year and a half, on and off. Like, I would get sick of it, and then I would just like hide my profile for a while, and then I would go back, because it can be just like taxing, very taxing. So one guy I went out with, it was pretty short notice. Like, we talked, and then we're like, okay, let's meet at a Starbucks. And I met this guy, and I mean, he was an attractive guy, but he just talked about himself the entire time. And then he finally asked me, like, how many dates have you been on? And I was like, maybe like 10. And that was over the course of like a year and a half of people that I had met. And he was like, I meet like 25 in a weekend. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. And he thought that I was like lying about my number of dates I had been on, because he meets like 25. He's like, yeah, I have 2 different Starbucks right down the street from each other, and I just go back and forth. Like, I just set them up back to back. So then I'm sitting here as he's telling me that, going like, okay, he probably has like another date set up. So he talked the whole time. He talked about how he went to some woman's house and she was naked, and like all these women coming on to him. I don't know if he was trying to impress me or what, but it was not painting a very good picture in my mind. But after he like talked himself up for this like 20 minutes, I barely got a few words in, and then he was like, oh, man, I'm tired. So I'm sure he had to get to his next appointment, and then he left, and I didn't hear from him for like a few days. And then all of a sudden he like sends me a message. He was like, sorry, I was just really busy. Yeah, with your other dates. Like, it was just the most awkward thing ever. And I found that guys really like to talk about themselves. I've also had a stalker come from it, so be careful. And I just really learned that after a while, you can talk with somebody back and forth. You can message them for weeks, for months, and then you can go and meet them, and they're totally different. So I had gotten to a point where I was like, you know what, let's talk on the phone, because messaging was just not working. And then if I liked them over the phone, if something clicked there, then I would meet them. But I actually found that I, narrowed it down just by talking. You could hear people and kind of tell whether you would have some chemistry in that talking. And I think a lot of that gets lost in translation when you're doing it over text message or messaging via the dating site. So I would recommend just speaking with them before going and meeting them. And I had one guy who was like, what do you do for a living? And I work in property management. And he was like, well, you sound like a nurse. And I was like, okay, well, thanks, I guess. And he's like, no, you just sound like really nice and fake. Like, nobody's really that nice. This guy was like clearly just miserable, and he was looking for someone who was miserable and just wanted to be angry and mad all the time. And he was just in complete disbelief that someone could be happy and have like a bubbly, positive outlook on life. It was very bizarre. I've met some weird people. Really made me like head scratcher. Yeah, there were definitely some weird ones out there. And With the stalker, it was very interesting going and meeting him. He was one of the people who did not look like his profile picture. And when I remember I got there and he was like late and I was waiting, and then he had said something, like I asked him if he was there yet, and he's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm the guy in the red shirt, like as if there was no one else in the world who wore a red shirt, and there were several people in red shirts around. So finally we met, and he was just spent the whole time talking about this girl that he had been on a date with previously and how she just wanted to be friends with him. And then also about his nephew, which is fine. But in the middle of the conversation, I realized like I don't really have a connection. Like there's not intellectual connection. There's not a physical attraction. There's like no spark, nothing. Like I was just not interested. And towards the end, he was like, yeah, I'd really like to see you again. And I'm like, well, it was hard for me. Like I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to be mean, but I just wasn't really feeling it. And I was like, well, I don't really know. And just kind of tried to put him down lightly, but he was just not taking a hint. And he kept talking, and I just, like inside, I could not wait to get out of there. Like, I was like, oh gosh, I really want to go. So finally I left, and he would not stop like blowing up my phone. And I told him, I'm like, look, I just want to be honest with you. I want to be upfront. I don't want to waste your time, but I don't feel a connection with you. There's no romantic connection. So I don't feel like it's there. And then he just would not, like, made him text me even more. He just would not stop, just constantly texting me and then telling me that I didn't even give him a chance. And this girl who basically told him before that she wanted to be friends is criticizing me, and he's telling me what she thinks of me, which is funny because she did the same thing, and that I am heartless and all of these horrible things. And yeah, he just wouldn't stop, and it went on for probably probably a week to 2 weeks. And finally I had to say, look, you're obviously not getting it, and if you continue to contact me, I'm gonna have to contact the police. And finally he left me alone. So it's really important to be honest with people and don't give them false expectations. And even sometimes when you are honest, people just can't take it. So really talk to people on the phone before you go on dates, and make sure that you have that connection. And even then, sometimes when you meet in person, that connection's just not there. I wanted to share with you a story about online dating. So to me, it just cracks me up every time that I tell it and every time that I think about it. So as I said in a previous video, I was on Plenty of Fish, which is a dating website, several years ago. And one of the guys that I talked to, we talked for several weeks and we got along really well, and we seemed to have a good connection over the phone. So we lived pretty far apart. So we kind of met at a halfway point, and we decided to go bowling. Usually I would just meet for a coffee or something, but since we were both going a long distance and we had talked for a little while, I was like, okay, we can do something a little bit more, that requires a little more time. So we met at a bowling alley, and he was really sweet. He brought me a rose, very kind, a good-looking guy. So we go to start bowling, and he starts to put in my name, and he starts spelling it, and the first letter is wrong, the second letter is right, the third letter is right, the fourth letter is wrong. And at first I thought like he just misinput the letter, the first letter, like mistyped. And then I watch and he finishes it out and I'm like, that's not my name. And he's like, haha, real funny. Okay, what do you want your name to be? And I'm like, my name. He's like, that is your name. I'm like, no, that's not my name. And he's like, okay, what do you want your name to be then? And he really thinks that that is my name. And I like don't even know what to think about it. I'm like, okay, is he like meeting the wrong person here? Like how many people is he talking to? It's just really funny. So then I tell him what my name is and he turns so red that he actually like turns like a shade of purple. Like, oh my gosh, he was so embarrassed. So I spent the remainder of the bowling like trying to make him feel better and just trying to be goofy and get him to relax, because I could tell at that point he was like really embarrassed and really uptight. So as we're bowling, he starts to loosen up, but then I start winning at bowling, and then I can tell he's like feeling self-conscious about that. And so then I purposely lost so that way he could feel better about himself. And I was just trying to get him to relax so he could be himself. Because I know that anytime you go on a date, the situation is tough. Like everybody has nerves. Even I had nerves, and I'm just, you know, trying to make us both feel at ease. So we get done bowling and he asked me if I want to go grab something to eat. So I say yes. And then he's like, do you want to take your car or mine? And I'm like, well, we could take yours. And after I say that, you can tell he like regrets asking it. And we go to his car and it's like, now he works in construction. His car is like falling apart on the inside. I mean, it ran well, but aesthetically, it wasn't so pleasing. Like it was a Jeep, and so part of the back was like falling off, and we're driving down the street, and he's trying to convince me like what a good car his car is, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's okay. I could tell he was like really self-conscious about his car, and I'm like, it's all right, and he just keeps circling back to the vehicle and how it's such a good vehicle and how it works so well for work and all of this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this poor guy, like let's just change the subject, but he keeps going back to it. And we decided to go to Chipotle, and as we turned in to the parking lot, my seatbelt like unclicks and like flies across, and I cannot help but to start laughing, and I'm like, it's okay. And he just looks mortified, just mortified that this has happened. I'm like, it's okay, like the car knows we're here. And we pull around the corner and we go to park. So we park the car, we're like, okay, we're gonna get out. And I get out and I shut the door, and he gets out too. And then all of a sudden the car starts to roll back. So I like move my foot and I'm like, the car is rolling backwards. He like, luckily he's quick, he like jumps in the car, like it almost ran over my foot. But this poor guy could not catch a break. Like it was just so funny. And I will never have that image removed from my head because it was so funny. The car just rolling backwards, the look on his face, again, just like utter embarrassment and also shock. So then we go inside and we order, and when we go to sit down, he goes to the restroom, and like a long period of time goes by. Like I thought, like, okay, did he just leave me here? Like I had to turn around and check, like, is the car still here? He must have been like in the bathroom giving himself a pep talk. And he comes out and he just like starts this conversation, and I try to again like put him at ease. And then he starts talking about like how he was a DJ once, and I think he's just really trying to make himself look cool and kind of like make up for the rest of the date. But yeah, he's like talking about all this stuff that I have no idea what he's talking about. And I have never, like, have you guys ever had someone at Chipotle come up to you and ask you how things are? Because in the time that we were there, they probably checked on us about 10 times to see how everything was. Like, everything was just going wrong for this guy. But it was so totally funny. I mean, I almost lost the foot. Apparently I had a name change. Regardless of all of that, with nerves set aside, I still went on another date with him, and it turns out we're better friends than a relationship. That connection wasn't there, but I tried to give it a try, and he definitely made me laugh. He gave me a story that I will never forget because it absolutely has me rolling, like, whenever I tell it. So if you guys have any crazy, funny stories, go ahead and feel free to share them below. Hope you enjoyed my story, and just be safe out there if you're online dating. Check you out next time. Bye.